ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 686th edition of the Feuerstein's Fire American Soccer Show. I'm your host, Daniel Feuerstein. I'll give you an American perspective of our clubs, leagues, players, national team, and other fabulous moments. Get your daily reading from me and other writers over at Beyond the 90, at beyondthe90.substack.com, and, of course, locally on baddogsports.com. Talk everything you want to hear about New York soccer and from around the country and from around the globe. Chat room is open over at YouTube. Come on in, discuss amongst yourselves if you like. You have a question for me, I'll try to answer it to the best of my abilities. So, I have a packed show for you tonight. And one of those guests are going to come on later to discuss about that horrible ending in the Leagues Cup final. Now, as all of you know, I hate Leagues Cup. I think Leagues Cup is a waste of time. I believe that for Don Garber, he is trying to push out the Open Cup so that all 27 American MLS clubs do not battle for the national championship of American soccer. And for the last 3 seasons, we have seen MLS clubs reaching the final, taking out all Liga MX clubs. And while some have said that this tournament, with the new adjustments, finally are coming up into a better situation, it makes it more even for Liga MX clubs to come in and MLS clubs, to still compete, where you're really going to have to get the points. You're forced to score more goals. You're forced to do this. You're forced to do more of that. No matter how many times this thing changes, it will always remain the same. Fake, plastic, not real, and the trophy is made out of chocolate wrapped in aluminum foil. But as we just saw last night, the Seattle Sounders, they defeated Inter Miami 3-0. And after they won, it was all over. And all the poor sportsmanship came raining down in front of us by Inter Miami. Give me one moment. I apologize. Something has just come to my attention, but I will be right back. I promise. And here is the advert for the first episode, for the first segment, but I will be right back. I apologize about that, ladies and gentlemen. Something had to come across my desk, and I had to take care of it 1, 2, 3. But here I am back. But let's go back to about Leagues Cup right now, that final. Inter Miami players came out of nowhere after the final whistle and started throwing punches. That was Sergio Busquets. That was, of course, Luis Suarez, several other players. But thankfully not Lionel Messi. Thankfully not Messi. And to be honest with all of you, what we saw out there at Lumen Field was an absolute disgrace. An absolute disgusting display of poor sportsmanship from players that have graced pitches across Europe and across the globe when they played for their respective nations in the World Cup, in the Copa America, and in the Euros. And to see all of that coming down was an absolute disgrace. Luis Suarez is 40 years old, and yet a 40-year-old had to grab a Seattle Sounders player using his arm and wrapping it around his throat, put him in a headlock. And then the great Luis Suarez decided to have a verbal spat with an elderly gentleman who was a part of the Seattle Sounders staff, whether he was part of the technical staff or maybe a security guard who works for the club. I don't know. We'll find out from Mr. Michael Martinez later on in the show. But yelling at this guy, screaming at this guy, and then he spat in his face. Spat in his face. Not only does he play a vampire, now he's a spitter. And now he's a headlock guy and possibly a choke artist when it means basically wrapping his arms and his hands around another player's throat. I'm sorry, were they playing the Seattle Sounders or were they playing Real Madrid? You decide. You flew to Seattle for the final. And yes, you played against the Seattle Sounders, but also played against other players who are used that play on MLS Next Pro side, Tacoma Defiance, that is the 2 team of the Sounders. And one of those players is the son of a legendary MLS player who played not just in the league, but also played for the Canadian men's national team in Dwayne De Rosario. His son played against Messi and beat him. Oh, beat Vargas, played against Messi and beat him. Did Messi join in on the shenanigans? Thankfully, he did not. And now, after the entire world saw this, the entire world saw what those players did who represented South Beach, South Florida. All you Miami fans, all you Inter Miami fans, not the Messi Ultras, not the Messi supporters groups. They embarrassed you, Inter Miami fans. They embarrassed you. They embarrassed your shield, the crest, the stadium, whether it be Chase or the new one. They embarrassed you. They also embarrassed David Beckham, and they embarrassed the Moss family. That is a complete and utter disgrace. I thought these men were better than that. I thought these players were better than that. They've done everything for club and country. They've done everything for the game. And now they come and play in MLS, and this is their second Leagues Cup final out of out of three. Sure, you were humbled in victory, but in defeat, it makes me wonder what would have happened at Chase Stadium in that second leg of the semifinals of this past CONCACAF Champions Cup that Miami didn't even, what if they did that to the Whitecaps? I mean, it's just ridiculous. I'm sorry. There's nothing to sugarcoat about on this. This is disgusting. I am upset. I am angry. I am pissed off. And I want the league to hand suspensions. But apparently, finding out that MLS might not be able to do so, why? You created this tournament, Commissioner Don Garber. You created Leagues Cup, which means that this is under your perusal. And now you're telling me it might not happen? Hearing that Leagues Cup is a separate entity now? That they're going to have to suspend these players for the next Leagues Cup tournament? What kind of farce is this? What kind of farce are we running here? Major League Soccer, Commissioner Don Garber, Soccer United Marketing? What are we doing here? What is going on? I mean, look, if they cannot understand, not just Seattle fans, not even Miami's own fans, but every single fan in the world, including in this country and in Canada and in Mexico, everywhere around the world, if there is no suspensions for Luis Suarez, for Sergio Busquets, for even Jordi Alba and any other Inter Miami player that created that ruckus after the final whistle was blown, you are a complete and utter joke. Everything you've done to make MLS into what it should be is all thrown out the window. You're embarrassing yourselves. You're embarrassing the sport in this country. You are a sham and a disgrace. Don Garber, I want you to go in front of the microphone. I want you to inform every single MLS supporter, every single supporter of this game, and you tell us that those Inter Miami players that started that fracas, spat in the face of that elderly man by Luis Suarez, they are suspended for the entire season, and they are also suspended for the playoffs. Do that right now. Ladies and gentlemen, I got a great show for you tonight. And my first guest tonight, he is a member of the USL show. You can also follow him on Twitter, USL Tactics. John Morrissey joining us tonight to talk about something strange going on in Loudoun, Virginia with the Loudoun United, and he's going to explain what the hell's going on. And there he is right now. John Morrissey, welcome to the new version of the 46 Fire American Soccer Show. It's great to finally see you in person. How are you, sir?
Doing really well. Happy to be here.
And very happy for you to be here as well. John, I have to tell you, it really does bother me because I'm looking at the table of the Eastern Conference of USL Championship. And Ryan Martin, who's the head coach of Loudoun United, has them in third place. Obviously, Louisville, cream of the crop. Charleston, cream of the crop. Loudoun United third place and 34 points. Yet something is looming over Ryan Martin's head. And I am completely in shock that there's a slim possibility he could be sacked for a winning season. What the hell's going on in Loudoun?
Yeah, so per sources that I have close to the club, it seems that the club has informed Ryan Martin that he will be dismissed at the end of the 2025 campaign. He will see this year out, and then he will be gone. I think the root of what is going down in Loudoun right now is a regime change, essentially. You can kind of trace the origins back to 2023 when DC United, who ran this club from their inception, really is a developmental tool for the MLS side. They divest that controlling stake, sell it to a group called Attain Sports. After about 2 years, Attain, who really come from the finance side of things, they don't have their heart in lower league soccer, especially when they realize that lower league soccer is a money-losing proposition. So this April, they merge with a group called Virginia Revolution, which is a youth soccer organization and academy program in Virginia. Virginia Revolution comes in, takes over the day-to-day operations of the club. At that point, you get the report from Pablo Maurer, wonderful reporter in The Athletic, talking about some of the conditions, players doing their own laundry, a lack of health infrastructure, things that would be really worrisome if you are maybe a prospective player trying to come to Loudoun. But Virginia Revolution comes in, immediately dismisses the club's sporting director, Oliver Gage, who really has built this team up with Ryan Martin ever since they have gone independent and lost the yoke of that DC relationship. And immediately at the time as well, there is the reporting that Martin may be sacked at the end of the season. So you fast forward to last week. Per Pablo's reporting, there was an ultimatum. Loudoun was going to play against Charleston on a Sunday match. And if Loudoun didn't win the game, Ryan Martin was not going to be back for the season to come. Charleston wins that game 4-1. I start hearing the whispers thereafter of, hey, there's some smoke to this fire, or other way around, what have you. And yeah, from what I'm hearing, Ryan Martin now will be dismissed at the end of the season.
You know, it's really troublesome for me. And it really is. And I'll tell you why. You have Loudoun United in a position where I don't think they've ever been in at all since coming into USL Championship. I mean, they've had some good players. They've had some good matches, but they've never put it together the way that Ryan Martin has. I mean, is this something about maybe they have we've never hired Ryan. He's not our guy. We never wanted him in the first place. So we're just going to make something up and then just tell him, well, if you lose this game, it's all over for you and we don't care where you are, because that's what it feels like. It feels like you're going to get sent off anyway. You're going to get sacked anyway. And then we're going to bring in our guy, and then we'll feel more comfortable about the future of the club. I mean, how that feels?
That's the sense I'm getting. And I think what's so interesting is that you might look at Ryan Martin's record because he's been here since 2019 and not be impressed with the results. But what he did with player development, when the goal of the team was player development, unbelievably effective at that. Now you fast forward, this team is trying to win games. They have, from everyone who I've talked to, the lowest budget in the Eastern Conference. Here they are in third place because he gets that ability out of his players. He's one of the best tactical minds in the league. And so this Virginia Revolution group comes in. They think that they can do it better, I suppose. The interesting thing that I've been noting as well in that sporting director role, obviously Oliver Gage goes away right away. They hire Steve Birnbaum, who many will be familiar with because of his playing career. Birnbaum at the time was already the sporting director of DC Power in the Women's USL Super League. So he is taking on a second role. There was reporting that his contract was covered by DC United because he was still technically under an MLS deal. He had retired because of injury. So Loudoun was getting him on a discount. Now, that's not to disparage Birnbaum, who is a very smart soccer mind and could have done a good job. But at every step, you get the sense that it's cost cutting. It's people who don't really know the professional ranks all that well. They're bringing a youth soccer mentality to a club that needs to be professional.
I mean, that's terrible. I mean, I can understand you want to take over the club, and I understand you want to run it yourself, but cut off your own nose in spite of your face, and to just let go of Ryan Martin the way he did. And you're right, they were just a feeder club at the time. They're just helping out their parent company at the time, DC United,
Right.
to be stronger in MLS. And all of a sudden, when you're telling your guy Ryan Martin, okay, we're letting go of the reins, have fun, we're here to win something, we want to build something special now, we're on our own, go ahead and give us a victory. And then all of a sudden, new ownership comes in, and they're telling him, well, we're giving you an ultimatum because we don't want you. Why can't you just, sit back, examine what he's done as a head coach, and then just give him a brand new deal, and then you can make him into one of the better head coaches in all of USL. I mean, we've seen what Bob Lilly has done in this league.
Mm-hmm.
Rochester, Pittsburgh. I mean, we've seen past head coaches that have been excellent in this league. Long time ago, Harrisburg City Islanders, Bill Betcher. He was one of
Sure.
those great head coaches as well. Unfortunately, now he's just doing youth programs back in the capital city of Pennsylvania now. But I mean, you can probably read off all the great head coaches that have been in the United Soccer Leagues and the Championship League. I
Well,
mean,
I
this
think
is a
yeah,
disgrace.
you're so right to point out Bob Lilly because for everything he's done, all the success he's had, so much of it has come with a low budget. In a league like the USL, where resources can be very limited, tactics matter, your personality matters, but there's that ability to get the most out of players who maybe have one particular skill. Ryan Martin does that. You can't put a number on it, you can't quantify it, but he's got that special something that if you're a club like Loudoun United that's never going to be paying the premium and beating players in the free agency market, I don't understand the rationale for giving up the golden goose that you happen to have on your sideline. And Martin, by the way, only 42 years old, bright career ahead of him, will be in demand this offseason. Curious to see what becomes of his career going forward because he'll have some real opportunities to move up the ladder in this league.
I mean, I'll say this right now, and I think that if DC United did not go after that foreign head coach, I think they should have taken Ryan Martin and just kept them in the Virginia, DC area. I really think he would have done something special with DC. Now, once again, that's a different story. But then again, you never know who's going to lose their jobs in USL Championship or even in USL League One, even some of these expansion teams. I mean, they're coming in both Championship and League One. We don't know who their head coaches are going to be. If Ryan Martin goes to one of those expansion sides, look out. Look out. He may turn them around in a short period of time, and he could turn them into a USL championship contender.
Yeah, and you think about a program like Fort Wayne, for instance, who's run by DeMarcus Beasley coming into the league. They just hired Oliver Gage, who spent 2 years working with Martin and Loudoun to be their sporting director. Martin is an Ohio guy from birth. That is a stone's throw away from Fort Wayne, Indiana. You can start to see the vision for one of these programs getting a premier coach in the door. And we'll see what gives in terms of the championship coaching market. It's a little bit late in the season to see coach firings now, but once you get to that November post-playoff window, there will be moves. And for me, no matter who gets fired, who gets hired, Martin feels like the belle of the ball in that market.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just telling you right now, it just really bothers me where you've got a head coach that's very successful, especially what Ryan Martin has done this season. And now you've been told, go get us a victory, take us to the playoffs. And they're doing amazing things. I mean, they even had a great run in the Open Cup until they lost it, I believe, in the third round, unfortunately. But still, though, if they go on an Open Cup run for next season, if Ryan Martin is still there, I'm telling you right now, John, I believe they would be an absolute upset special in any round of the Open Cup when you play an MLS side.
Sure, they have a clear style of play. And if you talk to the players that have played under Martin, universal praise for what he does, the way he communicates, that is conducive to cup sets, that's conducive to success when you get to the postseason, which Martin is going to take Loudoun to the playoffs for the first time in club history. Like, that is 99% going to happen. It'll be interesting to see if the posture changes, if Loudoun wins a game or two in the postseason. Like, I don't have title expectations for them, but if you're Loudoun, this coach really galvanizes the group. It's an awkward spot given what we know has been discussed behind the scenes.
Absolutely. Now, I'm going to throw a little bit of an analogy here, or maybe a comparison, but and once again, I'm going to avert to my movie history. And of course, it involves a separate sport, a very fine comedy involving Mr. Charlie Sheen and Corbin Burnson. You may know of it, called Major League.
That's right.
And yeah. So what happens? Let's just say, for the heck of it, they pull that off. Now, I hope they're not going to peel a section off of the so-called outfit of the owner, which we don't want to see that happen. But let's just say, for the heck of it, they have that moment. What do you think might happen here? Do you think he may eventually, at the end of the season, keep his job? Or no matter what they do, it's all over?
From what I understand, having talked to people close to the situation, is that Ryan Martin would have liked to have stayed in Virginia. He's made roots there. His family just had a baby this year. At the same time, I think there's been some bridges burned. And if if he knows that other clubs are interested, he's confident that he can get a job elsewhere. I would expect Ryan Martin to leave, even if something magical happens.
Yeah. Look, there's nothing more you can say or do. Look, this is all on the new ownership, which is, of course, as you said, it's a Virginia Revolution. They have made what I believe is a gigantic blunder. It's a huge mistake. And, the minute they get eliminated in the playoffs, because I don't think they're going to be dropping out of third place anytime soon. I believe it's like, how many matches are remaining in the regular season? About 6, 7, 8, something like that?
8 to 10, depending on the team.
Yeah. I just feel like it's a poor judgment by this new ownership group for Loudoun United to just basically dismiss Ryan Martin for no reason. It's just disgusting. I'm sorry. I'm just not happy with what I've heard about.
Yeah, and for a league that really hangs its hat on being increasingly professional, raising the level and getting these clubs up to speed, it feels like you're going back in time to the USL of 2016 in a way that really comes off unfavorably for all involved.
Yeah, absolutely. John, real quick, who do you have coming up next for the USL show?
We're taking the week off for Labor Day, so stay tuned for whatever happens next week. I think all of us needed a rest, and we gear up for the end of the year coming ahead.
Absolutely. John, as always, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. Sad about Loudoun, sad about Mr. Ryan Martin, but let's see what happens in the future, and hopefully he will jump on to a brand new venture for himself. But thank you for joining me tonight, and have a good night, sir. Thank you.
You too. Thanks for having me.
All right, thank you once again. That's John Morrissey from the USL show. You can follow him at USL Tactics over at Twitter X as well as Blue Sky. Real quick, Dino Luzzi. Let me tell you about this segment sponsor, Dino Luzzi Energy Drink. When I need that extra kick to power through match analysis and late night transfer rumors, there's only one drink that delivers authentic Italian energy. Dino Luzzi, created in Italy with the same passion I bring to this show, because real energy comes from real ingredients, just like real soccer talk comes from real insiders. Joining me right now, he covers St. Louis City SC. He's also a member of SASH, which is the Society of American Soccer History. It was great to have him on before. It's great to have him on again. Dave Lang joining me tonight. Dave, good evening. And how are you, sir?
Thanks for having me.
Well, it's great to have you back on. Once again, A lot of fun with you and Ty Keogh talking about the 75th anniversary of the 1950 World Cup team that defeated England 1-0 down in Belo Horizonte in Brazil. That was probably, out of all the shows I've done, whether it's on this platform or my old platform, that one is really special to me because not only as an American soccer fan, but as an American as a whole, that we can play this game. And even though they like to laugh at us, when we really get them, they're God.
Yes, and it's just amazing when you talk to somebody from England and you bring up that game. It's like, oh no, do we have to talk about that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I like to give a little nudge, nudge, wink, wink, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Talking about St. Louis City, now they have sacked their sporting director. And if you can help me if I mispronounce his last name, I would appreciate it. Lutz Pfannenstiel, is that correct? Or did I?
Lutz Fan and Steel.
Lutz Pfannenstiel. Thank you very much. That's
You're
$10 in the mistake jar.
welcome.
Okay.
There you go.
Why now? Why did they sack him in the middle of the season? Why did they feel this was the right time to do it?
The obvious reason is, they're underperforming massively, second worst point total in the league. But I think beyond that, there are three factors. The first one, there were some head coaching decisions that was misfired. He was brought in and almost from day one, he was responsible for building the franchise. So he did a lot of good things. He hired Bradley Carnell, who did a great job the first season. They finished first in the Western Conference. And then after 9-game winless streak in 2024, they fired Bradley Carnell. And we all know what Bradley Carnell has done since then in Philadelphia, right? So he's done a great job there. And that's probably one mark. The second bad mark was hiring Olaf Melborg as a successor last November. And Olaf came in as a very defensive-minded coach. So he saw a procession of 0-0, 1-0 games. They didn't do very well on the point total either. So he was fired in May. So two major coaching hires, firings kind of went south on him. The second factor, at least in the minds of the fans, is they really have failed to sign impact player in 2024, 2025. Fans are seeing the Thomas Muellers and people like that who getting signed by other teams, and St. Louis probably has very little chance of getting that, given the market size. But in the fans' mind, they haven't really done anything to improve the team on the field. The third thing is ownership was very vocal before the season is our goal this year is to make the playoffs, and we will make the playoffs. When they obviously weren't going to make them, then they've tried coaching, they've tried players. So next step, let's get a new sporting director.
I have to tell you, and everyone saw this. There was a picture of Berkey sitting on the bench having a long conversation with John Hackworth. I think you can finally see his frustrations right now with how this club has been going on for these last two seasons, including this season. Do you sense the frustration from that locker room right now at Energizer Field?
I'm not in the locker room and I'm not around the players that much, but from watching, I know Berkey is very frustrated because he's your prototypical goalkeeper. I mean, he runs things when he's on the field and he's not shy to get in somebody's face and say, look, you got to do better. So I think he's frustrated with what's happening. His contract is up after the season. He may be gone. He may be the best goalkeeper in Major League Soccer. If they lose him, obviously that's a big blow to the team. In all fairness, they've had a lot of injuries this year too. Berkey missed a month with a broken hand. Henry Kessler, their big center back, missed 14 games. To me, the biggest loss has been Edward Loudoun, their center midfielder. He missed 14 games as well. He had an injury, but he has a major personal issue. His wife has brain cancer. He's been trying to deal with that. I mean, that's terrible. And the guy is really the heart of the team. When they have the ball, everything goes through him. He's back now, and he scored a goal in the last two games. You can tell the difference he makes. But they've been without some key players, so that's a factor as well. It's not just Lutz Pfannenstiel did a terrible job. He didn't do a terrible job. He did a great job building this team from the very beginning. But I think some bad decisions in the coaching area really hurt and not, making the playoffs.
I don't have to say this because you live in St. Louis. You're from the area. Obviously, we all know the pride of St. Louis every single time you talk to someone from that city, a sports fan, whether it be a Cardinal fan, a Blues fan, even when you had the NFL there with the Rams. But a soccer fan and a soccer player from St. Louis, I mean, there's no doubt about it. The pride and the pageantry that a St. Louis has for that sport in that city, and all the wonderful players that have been on the national team, even currently, still Tim Ream to this day, which don't get me wrong, I love Tim. Timmy's a great kid. I can't call him a kid anymore. It's like, what,
Yeah.
45, 50 years
Right.
old? But yeah, exactly. I mean, I remember him when he was drafted by the Red Bulls out of St. Louis University. And, I'll never forget his first MLS goal, which was a great, great goal. I don't have to tell you. I think you saw it yourself, maybe in the highlights on YouTube. But, um, the pride that they have for the sport, is it really weighing hard on the soccer fans in St. Louis after such a great first season that
Oh yeah, I mean
everything's falling apart?
that really raised expectations. They win their first 5 games. Brand new team in MLS, that's unheard of. And then they go on and they sputtered at the end, but they did finish first in the conference. So I think people had big expectations that we're on our way, and that hasn't happened. I think another frustration is, at least among some of the older fans who are used to seeing St. Louis guys on St. Louis teams, they don't see any St. Louis guys on this team on the first team, and I think that bothers a lot of people. For example, recently when they played Nashville, 2 of their starting 11 were from St. Louis.
Yeah.
Goalkeeper and the defender from St. Louis. City did beat them 3-1. So, but I think that bothers some people, and I think it also bothers other people who are wanting to see maybe more American, not just U.S. players, but South American, Central American players on the team, and bringing that playmaking buzz to the team, that excitement, the skill level. I think people are wanting to see more of that. So.
No, I understand completely. I mean, the Red Bulls, there's at least maybe 3, 4, maybe 5 players. I know there's 3 players from Long Island. The Nealis brothers are from Massapequa. You got Tim Parker, who came back, who was at St. Louis for a time,
Right.
came back to the Red Bulls. Daniel Edelman is from New Jersey. And there are other players on this team that are from South America and from Europe. But obviously, the idea is to create the local players, the local kids, to get that opportunity to play for their local club. And yeah, I mean, that's my big question mark. Who do you think is ready from the second team in St. Louis to finally get that opportunity to be a starter for the first team in MLS?
Well, recently they've been playing Mikey Joyner a lot from City 2. They brought him up numerous times, and he scored a goal in the last game against. They lost 3-2, but he scored a late goal. He's probably their best prospect right now. The first season, they had a St. Louis kid who was only 18 years old named Miggy Perez, who scored a goal, and then they loaned him to USL last year. Had a tough time. He's back with City 2, and he's scoring with regularity. So he might be someone you might see helping them later as well. And he's still only 20 years old.
Yeah.
And the center back they signed in July, Fallou Fall, Senegalese center back, he's just 23 years old, big guy. He's very rough around the edges, but they paid a reported 3 million euros for him, which is the second biggest transaction in their history. So, there's a lot of guys there who could help. A lot of guys also have contracts expiring after this year, along with Berkey. So I suspect with the sporting director and whoever they hire as head coach, you're going to see a lot of turnover on the first team when we take the field in 2026.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's hopefully so. I mean, I hope to see that, because the truth is this, Dave, as happy as I am that St. Louis is in the league, and as happy as I am that St. Louis finally has a club that they can call their own, it's really a bit difficult to watch them falling apart so quickly after that amazing first season in MLS. And I know certain steps did not go the right way, but still, though, I mean, I mean, it's hard not to see this club not being better than what they were when they got started.
I mean, the ironic thing is they've done everything right except the first team's performance. If you've ever been to the stadium, it's a beautiful complex, privately financed. The training facilities right across the street. The only team in MLS that has that luxury. Lutz Steel had a lot with developing that training facility. The supporting organization, the academy, has done very well. The MLS Next Pro team made the finals in 2022, and this year they're far and away the best team on MLS Next Pro. So, and they've done a great job marketing. The whole experience of when you go to a game is there's no experience like it in St. Louis. So they've done a great job everywhere, but except the first team's performance the last two seasons.
That's amazing. It really is. And you know what? I mean, I think when I remember watching the progress going on through social media, including on Google Maps sometimes. I know it's only a still shot, but still to see it from going from a pile of rubble and dirt and sand, and then becoming that structure is just unbelievable. And then going across the street is the practice facility, the training ground, and that's just amazing to watch. And it just, I've always said, I don't have to worry about certain cities in this country because I know the sport's in good hands in St. Louis, and it's just amazing. And yes, I do want to come to visit. I want to come to St. Louis, not just to cover the Red Bulls at St. Louis, but I would love to see what it's like to be in that stadium for a home game for City, because St. Louis City, because that's just tremendously a brilliantly built stadium.
Yeah, and they have a great fan base. They sell out every game. There's a waiting list for season tickets. So there's a very spirited fan base who I think is just, if things turn around, I mean, it's going to be amazing to see what happens among the fans who are already, excited to have a team, even though they're not doing well and are still supporting the team.
Exactly. Just can't wait. And hopefully they will be better in the Western Conference further up. Just out of curiosity, are there any other important documentaries or any reports coming from SASH that we should be aware of? I know your vice president, James Brown, has been posting a lot through LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
I was even amazed at one game, or at least there were Open Cup games being played in the Bronx. I think it's Starlight Park. The park is still there, which was amazing for me to see. I thought that would be gone with the rest of the past.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, anything going on for any future reports or anything that we should know
Well,
about?
I would encourage anybody to go to the SASH website. There's so much material there, and they add to it all the time. As you mentioned, the videos are finding, the records they're unearthing that long lost and people have forgotten about. As you just said, you had no idea Starlight Park was still around. Well, yes, it is, and it was a historical venue for many years. That kind of information is there, and SASH is making a concerted effort to help in any way they can next year with the 2026 World Cup coming here. And obviously, the interest is going to be globally in what's the state of soccer in the United States and where did this sport come from. And as it's, obviously the picture is the U.S. is a latecomer in the world of soccer and has not been very good, but there's a lot of history that contradicts that. And if you look at the SASH website, you'll find that out.
And I try my best to do my part to make sure that we do remember our history in this sport in this country, because if we don't remember our history, we're bound to lose it. So once again, I appreciate everything that you and everyone else at SASH does for American soccer history, and hopefully just keep on chugging, and we'll see what St. Louis City does the rest of the season, and hopefully have a better season next year. Dave, as always, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining me tonight, and have a good evening. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I hope to host you if you come to St. Louis.
I will. Don't worry. You'll be the first one to know. And bring Ty over. I want to hang out with you guys. So
look forward to it.
Very much. Thank you. Dave Lang from Soccer Made in St. Louis, and a member of SASH, the Society of American Soccer History, as he joined us tonight. And now my last guest tonight was at the scene of the crime. That's right, the scene of the crime. And that crime was Inter Miami, causing a ruckus after the final whistle was blown when they lost 3-0 to the Seattle Sounders in the Leagues Cup final. From Cascadia FC, Michael Martinez joining me tonight again. Michael, welcome back. Well, first things first. You know me. I despise Leagues Cup. I hate it. But congratulations, the Sounders. 9th trophy, 4 Open Cup titles, 2 MLS Cup titles. That's 6. CONCACAF Champions League. That's 7. I believe a Supporters Shield, 1 or 2 of them. It's 8. And now um, this Leagues Cup title. What does that mean to you to see the Sounders racking up the titles? And, it's not such a far distance.
It means a lot. The Sounders are immense, honestly. They're the only MLS club to win all 5 basic domestic trophies available to them. I don't think any other team in this league can touch that. Inter Miami might be close, LAFC might be close, but no one can say that no one can do what the Sounders do. And they did it as a team. No individual stars. It's been a team collective from the very start. The Club World Cup was the catalyst to change everything. And it's honestly been great to watch.
That's great to hear, obviously, and just amazing. And what really even amazes me more, 9 players in the starting 11 came from their MLS Next 2 team in Tacoma Defiance. Sounders 2. That is amazing. And look, they've done an amazing job of developing their domestic talents or anyone that's coming over. Whether they get drafted or they sign them, they go straight over there, and then they just come up through the system, and they're on the pitch playing against one of the greatest players of all time in Lionel Messi and defeating him 3-0.
Honestly, it was great. And it's crazy that this game, going into it, all was on my mind and my co-host mind at Soundwaves from the Sea. We talked about this match as a game of ideologies. What the Sounders are going to be bringing up the kids, they're going to bring up the academy, focus on that, while teams like Inter Miami, yeah, they got the big money they're going to spend, they're going to bring in the stars, but at the end of the day, you said it perfectly. You have an academy set up, bring them in, they'll do the job.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Michael. Absolutely. And you know what? It really shows why Brian Schmetzer is still one of the best head coaches in MLS. Not just because he's an American, but because he knows what his players need to do to get that victory. And plus, he's from the area originally as well, I believe. So that just goes to show how dedicated he has been. Days in the USL, took the back seat, learned from Ziggy Schmid when he took over as head coach in MLS, when they made the move to MLS. And when Ziggy left, he took over the position, and he just continues on to get those championships.
Agreed. Brian Spencer deserves his flowers. I honestly believe that he should be in the Mount Rushmore of MLS coaches in modern day history. I honestly, he is probably the greatest coach in Seattle sports history. To be 100% honest with you, some people argue that Pete Carroll was better, or people at the Mariners have been better, but no, I don't think anyone has brought as many trophies to Seattle as Brian Spencer has with the Sounders.
I mean, look, I will say this. I think Pete Carroll has done good things for the Seattle Seahawks in the NFL. Obviously, 1 Super Bowl out of 2, unfortunately. He went to the well one too many times on that interception. I'm not here to harass Seahawks fans. I'm just telling you, you shouldn't have done that play again. Okay? You would have beaten the Patriots, all right? Help us out here. Anyway, I think the Mariners have been a good team. They just haven't been able to get over the hump because they always get the roadblock either against a juggernaut of a team like the Yankees, or they just can't seem to get out of their own way. And while they have done well developing baseball talent, it's just they just have not been good enough to get over the hump. And this is where I do agree with you. I think the Sounders have been absolutely fantastic from day one all the way up till now. And you cannot argue that.
Agreed. There's been, one Blue season that was after we won the CONCACAF Champions League, like the only MLS team to do so. Like, it's wild to me that some people, I'll accuse myself of it, that I have written off the Sounders a few yeah, they're a good team, but they're not going to be cup contenders. I think they probably not, but I mean, you never know. MLS Cup is wild. Teams can make massive runs like the last year. I mean, the Founders are they themselves down sport as one of the greatest teams in the city.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now we have to talk about the disgrace. And I said it at the start of my show. It is just reprehensible that a 40-year-old man in Luis Suarez, a 40-year-old man in Sergio Busquets, another 40-year-old man in Jordi Alba, maybe a little younger than that, but at least in their late 30s. You get beaten by a good Sounders team that had a good mix and match of veterans and young players, beat you 3-0 in a final. And then you go at the end of the match and the final whistle blows, you're throwing punches, you're giving headlocks. I mean, it looked like you wrapped your arm around the throat of some of those players, throwing punches in their faces. And it's just an absolute disgrace of what we saw. And then another shot of Luis Suarez. I guess he's going to every single person, whether player, technical staff, part of the club. Oh, this guy works for the Seattle Sounders. This guy plays for the Seattle Sounders. And you can just inform us, who was that elderly man who got spat on by Suarez? What do you know his name and what he does for the club? Because being spit on by at the end of the day, he's a legendary player. He will always be forever remembered for Uruguayan football, what he's done for the game, for the clubs he's played for, the country he's played for. And he all has to throw it away, whether he's playing a vampire, spitting in someone's face, or trying to wrestle an opposition to the ground because he's upset that he lost a final. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
It's embarrassing. Like, you're a decorated veteran, not even in this league, but in the world, and yet you're going to act like that against a 20-year-old kid and an old man who's the head. I forget his name. I'll look him up in a second. But he is the head of security for the Sounders, and he's seen worse things than getting spit at. And in a post-game interview, he said that he thought he was going to get bit. He thought Luis Suarez was going to go in for the bite. I think we all did, to be honest. But like, it's just wild to me that players like Luis Suarez will spit at somebody at that age. Busquets is going to go punch a 20-year-old in the face for a cash grab final just because you guys got embarrassed away from home. Like, come on.
And then I don't think these are Miami fans that came up. Now, let me say this. There probably were some Miami fans that flew to Seattle to watch the game. But I think you know as well as I do, most of these fans are basically Messi fans. And then you're seeing these Messi fans outside of Lumen Field throwing traffic cones, throwing garbage, throwing anything that's out there at Seattle fans and starting fights. What the hell is going on?
I really hope that like this hooliganism that from Europe doesn't start happening in MLS. Like, I know like having like passionate fans, that's what we want in this league. But I don't want hooligans. We don't need that shit. We don't need that here. It's just it's crazy. Watching a bunch of footage back, I'm just wondering like what in their brains thought that, oh, I'm gonna start grabbing stuff in front of the stadium on city property by that point. Start doing it in the sidewalk and start throwing punches and start throwing stuff. It's just the whole thing is just ridiculous, from the players to the fans. Yeah.
No, it's very disappointing. It's very disappointing. It's very sad, and it just feels like, what the hell is it? What's coming to this world? Look, I mean, I think we're all passionate for the game. We all love the game. We all want it to be fun for everyone. But, this is the negative side of the game that it's got to calm down. I mean, granted, we're not look, I'm not saying Portland, Seattle is not a rivalry. We all know it is. I know it is. You know it is, without a doubt. But I think we can be honest where it's not at the level where Boca Juniors and River Plate is, or the Milan Derby, or the Manchester Derby, or Bayern Munich versus everybody else in Germany. But
It'll
you know
never
what
get
I
to
mean.
those points. But yeah,
Yeah.
as, it'll forget that. From
Can you fix your microphone, Michael? Because you're coming in and out a little bit. Fix your microphone. Yeah. It's kind of crackling still a little bit. So. Yeah. Okay. Can you hear me at all or no? Well, I can't hear you now. Yeah. That's fine. Take your time. We want to make sure we hear everything that you say. Nope. It's the connection, I'm being told. Yep. Take your time. You're good. I'll put it up there so you know what it is. Okay. So he's on the mute. And let's see if we can get his microphone back up. But as I was saying, ladies and gentlemen, Michael fixes his microphone. Just a complete disgrace of what we saw by Luis Suarez, Jordi Alba, Sergio Busquets, and everyone else on Inter Miami. Thankfully, not Lionel Messi. Thankfully, not him. And hopefully, we'll never see this again. But definitely, there should be some punishment delivered. And it shouldn't be by the Leagues Cup people, supposedly the Leagues Cup people. It should be coming from Major League Soccer because they're the ones that created this tournament. And it should be them. So we're just waiting for Mr. Martinez to finish fixing his microphone so he can rejoin us. And we can continue on our wonderful conversation.
How about now?
Much better. Thank you very much, Michael. So as we're saying before, as I'm saying, we all know Portland, Seattle is always a big rivalry, but it's not the worldly level yet. But still, though, it's still a big rivalry. But go ahead, please.
I think give it like 5-10 years, or maybe if green hooligans start coming through, then maybe it'll get to that level. Ideally, not. But it's still a fun rivalry either way. But I don't ever see what happened on Sunday happening at a Cascadia Derby.
Yep, I agree with you there. So now we're learning from a certain person. His name is Daniel Solara. He's coming from a radio station in Miami, Spanish language radio station that he put out. And I want to make sure I say this correctly because this really made me upset and it made me angry. And I'm just going to read it to you. I don't have it on me right now, but I'm going to read it to everybody. And basically, he says that, so here's the deal. I've been told this morning from CONCACAF sources, Luis Suarez wouldn't face suspension in CONCACAF or MLS matches, only in future Leagues Cup games. To put it simply, Leagues Cup isn't run by CONCACAF or MLS. It's its own separate competition. This is where I get angry and I get upset because who created this tournament? Leagues Cup did not create themselves. Leagues Cup was created by Don Garber, commissioner of Major League Soccer, and his Soccer United marketing people. So if it is under their perusal, supposedly, he should be able to suspend Luis Suarez, Sergio Busquets, Jordi Alba, and any other Inter Miami player that got involved in either punching in the face, choking the opponent, or spitting at a defenseless security guard.
Oh, 100%. And if that happened, I can imagine the amount of outrage that would be just all over soccer Twitter and Blue Sky. It would just be ridiculous. I mean, this story's getting picked up by worldwide outlets like Sky Sports in the UK is reporting on it. The Athletic is reporting on it nonstop. You would think with all this pressure, and also I just want to preface that Leagues Cup was also started because Don Garber and MLS couldn't get their hands on the Open Cup. the streaming rights for that. Let's just start with that. But seen Leagues Cup and Don Garber put out suspensions for Mike Petke from RSL. He got a 3-match suspension in league play from some comments that he made to a referee. So if that reporting is true, and Luis Suarez and
Yeah, Michael, unfortunately, I think your microphone's cutting out again. Unfortunately, so listen. I'm going to let you go. It's okay. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. I know it's not your fault. It's the microphone. I know it's okay. But listen, I'll have you back on again soon. Good luck with the rest of the season, and good luck. I guess still celebrating that Leagues Cup title, even though it's going to cost you $10 million to get a seat at this parade. So, but thank you, Michael. I really appreciate your time as always. I'll talk to you again soon. Okay. All right. Once again, Michael Martinez. Thank you, Michael Martinez from Cascadia FC, on the situation with the Leagues Cup final between Inter Miami and the Seattle Sounders, and it's just an absolute disgrace of what transpired in that final when the final whistle blew. And once again, I want suspensions. I want suspensions for those Inter Miami players that had a hand in the post-match melee once that final whistle blew at Lumen Field. And if Don Garber is not going to hand a suspension on Luis Suarez, then we've all lost the plot. And he has lost the plot. This is your baby, Don. Do what's right. Suspend Luis Suarez. I don't care if he's retiring at the end of the year. Okay? I don't care. Send him off to retirement early. Suspend him for the rest of the regular season. Suspend him for the rest of the playoffs, no matter how many games Inter Miami plays. Suspend him. Suspend Busquets. Suspend Alba and any other Inter Miami player that got involved in that disgusting display. Period. It's disgusting. And we shouldn't have to have that in MLS or anywhere else on the globe. The world's favorite game. Passion is one thing, stupidity is another. And speaking about stupidity, the New York Red Bulls back at home at Sports Illustrated Stadium with a 0-0 draw against the Columbus Crew. While they did do a good job, it just wasn't good enough. They did not score any goals. They may have gotten a point, but they didn't need a point. They needed 3 points. They should have had at least a goal. They put themselves offsides way too many times. They had wonderful opportunities to score a goal. Either they missed or they were stopped by Schulte, Patrick Schulte, in goal by the Crew. At the moment, still with a +2 advantage and a 1-point advantage against the Chicago Fire, remaining in 9th place. But Chicago right now has 2 matches in hand. And they're going to be playing this Wednesday night against New England Revolution during international break. So you're hoping for a draw. You're also hoping for a loss. And we'll see what happens. But I'm telling you right now, it's not good what we saw from the New York Red Bulls that night. And I want to say this, and, you know, I understand being a manager of a professional football club, a head coach, a baseball manager, in any profession in the professional sports realm is a very, very difficult job, because when you win, you get the glory. When you get the losses, you get, I wouldn't say ridiculed by the media, but, you know, you have to answer the tough questions. And all I can say about when Sandro Schwartz met with the media, I understand he wants to move forward, and I understand he wants to look at the next game, and he'll take a break for this international break and then move on. But if you saw the post-match press conference on YouTube, I just want to say about Sandro is this. I respect you, Sandro. I understand it's a difficult job. And I also understand you have a lot of pressure on your plate right now. But we, as the media, we have to do our job. When we don't have to do our job, I don't mind having a conversation with you. I respect you. I understand what you got to do. I have no ill will towards you, Sandro. But you have to understand we have to do our job, and we have to ask you these questions. So please, Sandro, please, don't do that again. Okay? You're a great head coach. Well, I'll say this. You're a good head coach. You're a good person. And I enjoy having the banter with you. I enjoy, when we don't have to turn the microphones on, I enjoy having a conversation with you. But please understand that once the microphones are on and we have to do our job, whatever questions we have to ask you, good, bad, or indifferent, please understand that we are there to do a job as well. Okay? I've had great rapport with past head coaches of the New York Red Bulls, whether it be Chris Armas, Jesse Marsh, Mike Petke, Juan Carlos Osorio, even with Bruce Arena, Bradley Carnell. And I've also had good rapport with other former or current head coaches in Major League Soccer and in the USL Championship and USL League One. I respect what they do. I understand it's a difficult job. I understand they don't like the criticisms when it comes towards their way, but it's part of the job that I have to do as a member of the media. I am doing my job to ask you the questions. I'm asking you to give me an explanation of why this is going on. Do you feel the pressure of other clubs hanging around you, fighting to grab or re-grab the last playoff spot above the line? I understand what you're going through. And yes, do I feel for you a little bit? I do. But you have to understand, it's your job to make sure those players that I know you're managing correctly, but your tactics have to mirror what happened towards the end of last season, the MLS Cup final appearance. Everyone is looking at you. Everyone is watching you, and they want to see you motivate these players and get the job done to return to the MLS Cup final and win the whole damn thing. That's all we're trying to do, is to document your behavior, your technical ability, managing these players that has to fight every single 90 minutes or more, whatever's added on in stoppage time, to put the club in the win column. And now you got nothing in front of you until you go back on the road and you fly across the country and visit the Portland Timbers at Providence Park. They're having a great season. You're not having a great road season. And it's time for you and for the boys to turn it around and win the remaining 5 matches of this regular season. So please, Sandro, don't explode after the match when it's a scoreless draw, when you needed 3 points and not 1? Please, Sandro, let's not go there. And that's all I can say about that during the New York Red Bulls review segment of the show. But I want to thank my guests tonight. I want to thank John Morrissey of the USL Show. Follow him at USL Tactics on both Twitter and Blue Sky. I want to thank Mr. Dave Lang from Soccer Made in St. Louis, also a member of SASH, Society of American Soccer History, and Michael Martinez from Cascadia FC. My name is Daniel Feuerstein. Thank you very much for watching me tonight. Join me again next time for another exciting Feuerstein's Fire American Soccer show. Don't forget, this international window, we got CONCACAF Final Round World Cup qualifying. Watch all these matches either through CBS Sports Network, Telemundo, Peacock streaming, Paramount Plus streaming, Telemundo Deportes streaming, and all that fun stuff this coming Thursday, Friday, Monday, and Tuesday. And of course, the USA taking on both Japan and South Korea coming up this coming Saturday and Tuesday. You can watch all those games either on TNT or on the HBO Max app or website. Once again, my name is Daniel Feuerstein. Thank you very much for watching me tonight. And as always, please, 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 please enjoy your football. Thank you. Take care. So long, and have a good night. And bye-bye for now. Have a good night, everybody.